Hello, I'm Rocky, and today we are going to be cycling the Salmon Lifecycle.
And I'm Feather.
And this is Silver.
We're going to follow the life cycle of the coho salmon, a species that's really important to us here at Westminster Woods. Our coho salmon of Dutchbill Creek are an endangered population.
That means there are so few that scientists recognize that without our help, they'll disappear entirely from this area.
Let's head down to the creek to find out where they start their life cycle.
Salmon, like Silver here, start their life in a creek as a little egg that when it hatches, it actually keeps its yolk sac to keep feeding on for a while.
This stage of the life cycle is called alvin. The alvin stay in the protection of the gravel, living on the energy from their yolk sac until they're bigger.
Next they turn into what's called a fry, which is like a little fish. It goes around hunting different bugs and things in our creek and trying to keep from getting eaten by predators.
During the fry stage of the life cycle, the salmon are imprinting on their home creek. They're using their sense of smell to learn the mineral content that makes their home unique. This will be important later in their life cycle. When the winter rains return, the fry start their journey down the stream. Let's head downstream to find out where they go. We just rode about 4 miles following the route that Dutchbill Creek salmon take to reach the Russian River. Here the creek meets the river and the salmon continue downstream towards the ocean. As they head towards their saltwater home, we call them smolt.
Let's go down the river! Salmon are important for the ecosystem throughout their whole life cycle. Here in the river, they're food for things like otters, osprey, kingfishers, and raccoons. Wherever there's salmon, there's more of all kinds of creatures.
Finally, the fish arrived here, the estuary, where the Russian River meets the Pacific Ocean.
In the estuary, saltwater and freshwater mix, and the bodies of the smolt adapt to life in salt water.
While they're in the estuary, the smolt gather in groups for protection from predators, such as seals and sea lions, which depend on the fish to survive.
After their time in the estuary, the salmon head out into the Pacific Ocean, where they spend their time avoiding predators and hunting for fish and other small creatures to eat. In December and January, when rainstorms fill the river and creek, the salmon swim back upstream to spawn. This part of the cycle is called the spawning phase.
The salmon use their uniquely powerful sense of smell to find their way back to the very spot where their journey began in the gravelly creek bed.
From the ocean, salmon find their way through the estuary to the Russian River, and eventually to Dutchbill Creek, swimming upstream all the way to Westminster Woods, their birthplace.
We made it! We just cycled almost 30 miles to follow the salmon life cycle.
That's a long journey for a fish, but there's one last thing the fish has to do before the journey is complete.
After arriving back where she was born, a female salmon uses her tail to brush aside the gravel to make a depression. Then she lays her eggs in this nest, or bed. A male salmon swims beside her to fertilize them, and then she uses her tail to brush the gravel back over those eggs to protect them. Continuing upstream, the salmon make more redds, giving as many offspring as possible a chance at surviving.
Spawning is tremendously exhausting. First, they have to change their body back to a freshwater fish, changing their entire body chemistry a second time.
Then they have to focus all their efforts and energies on swimming up the river and then the creek when they're filled from the winter rains. Have you ever tried swimming or paddling a boat against the river's current? It's so tiring.
After producing all the reds they can, the Fish then die and decompose, releasing that bounty of nutrients they got from the ocean back here into the creek bed and forest.
Now, all kinds of creatures, from microscopic organisms to big black bears, can get those nutrients. Even trees take in salmon nutrients through their roots.
This makes for a healthy forest, and a healthy forest is just what a baby salmon needs in order to start the next generation of salmon.
And so the cycle starts again. Thanks for joining us to explore the salmon life cycle.